Well, hey there, YouTube. Madam Roy back again. As you can see, I have this General Electric VCR that I picked up today, taken apart. I wanted to check some of the belts and some other things before I actually used it for any length of time. I've taken the bottom cover off. This is the way it usually sits, just on here like that. Because this is how you actually access the belts in the older VCRs. And as you can see, they actually look like they're in pretty good shape. This right here is the belt that drives the head and the motor assembly. You can see it's still pretty pliable. It's not gooey or anything like a lot of the belts get when they turn old. Over here is the belt for the eject mechanism. This one is also in pretty good shape, nice and tight. I was thinking I'd have to grease this, but as you can see, there's still a good amount of grease along the edges here. Now, getting back down to the gear mechanism, this actually looks in pretty good shape. You can see there's still some grease left on here. And forgive me, I'm not an expert, so I don't know all the technical names for the different parts in here, but everything seems to be in working order. I believe this is actually how the tape is played for the different speeds for like fast forward, rewind, play, and slow motion. It uses the different gears to figure out the right speed. But all of this actually looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and put the bottom cover back on because I'm looking at all the solder joints and all the leads, and nothing here is really making me nervous. I'm actually very surprised. Usually when I get an old piece of tech like this, I usually have to go over some of these solder joints, but everything here seems to be in pretty good shape. So I'll go ahead and put this together and we'll take a look at the top part of it. Alright, now that we're looking at the top, I think I was actually mistaken. I believe the belt that controls the eject mechanism is right here. You can see a motor, and it's attached to the cage here, and that's what actually helps you pull the tape in and out. And even this belt appears to be in very good shape. If the camera will focus in on there, you can see I'm rubbing my finger on it, and I'm not getting any residue off to speak of. But this is the part that I'm really interested in. I want to do a thorough cleaning with some alcohol on this. As you can see, the pinch rollers, the head. Let me see what the head looks like. It's kind of at an awkward angle here. Let me see if I can get the camera in there. The head appears to be pretty clean, but I'm going to go over that anyway. And then the audio head, which is right in here. Let's see if the camera can actually pick that up. It's actually right here. It's very hard to see. The cage is actually in the way. But when you clean a VCR like this, you want to make sure you get everything. I'm going to try to get this from another angle. Okay, now that I moved it over, you can obviously easily see the the audio head right here, which is actually looking very dirty. There's a lot of buildup on there, so it's maybe why I didn't have the greatest audio quality. And of course the head drum right here, which on this one actually seems very clean. Whoever owned this VCR took very, very good care of it. And I figured, well, I have it apart. We can go ahead and I'll show you what this actually has for features. On the front here, you can see we have power button, eject, TV VCR, which switches it back and forth from the TV input to the VCR input, button to set the record timer, rewind and fast forward, plus the scan. Now this VCR is old enough to where if you want to scan and actually still see the picture, you actually have to push and hold it in. Of course, modern VCRs, you can just push it once and it would continue to scan until you push play, which is the next button. We have play, stop, pause, slow motion, which is excellent in this VCR. One of the best I've ever seen, and I'll do a demonstration of that in a couple of minutes. Record and OTR. I don't remember exactly what this is. I think that is recording at different intervals. Like push that once, it'll record 30 minutes. Again, it'll record an hour, and I think it'll do that up to 2-3 hours, depending on what type of tape you actually have in here. Dolby noise reduction light, which is right here. We got the reset and the memory for the counter up here. You have your channel up and down. As you can see, it is normal stereo, so this is not like second audio program or anything like that, but it does have stereo, and it is a Dolby system, like I mentioned before. Down here we have inputs for left and right mics and headphones. So you actually probably do some video editing with this system fairly easily. You have the speed select, you have standard play, long play, and extended play, which you don't see on most modern VCRs. Usually you get standard play and extended play, but long play was always left out. You have slow tracking and regular tracking, so when you're in slow mode you can use this to track the picture to get a crisp, clear picture without any lines. And tracking, of course, is when you're playing in regular mode. Now, I didn't even see this before. There's a door under here, and this gives you quite a few other options. You can see up here you have the clock mode. You'll actually turn this from normal to set. When you want to set the clock, you have the days, hours, and minutes. And of course, when you're done, you'll flip that back to normal mode. There's the switch to turn on and off the Dolby noise reduction. You have your line level, line input, tuner, and then the audio 2 channel, which I believe are these 2 ports right here. So you could actually just technically record audio to this VHS tape, which is a very nice feature. Channel memory on and off. This is for adding and removing channels, because even though this is an older VCR, it still is cable ready. A-dub, I'm not exactly sure what that switch is. Now this is kind of interesting. You have the normal TV or antenna, and then you have the normal HRC and IRC cable TV switches. Back in the day, before digital TV, before high definition, there are actually 3 different types of cable TV channels you could have in your area. So your area might be normal. If it was HRC, you would of course flick it to HRC, and if it was IRC, you would flick it to that. But it's kind of irrelevant today, especially since everybody's got high definition. This is another interesting feature here. Is a little LCD display, and this is for actually programming your shows to record. Like when you had regular cable, you would turn it to the program, and you would actually use these arrow keys to select if you wanted to do it weekly or daily, the start time, the stop time, and the actual channel. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the VCR on, and I'll go and try to demonstrate that. I'm not even sure if it works. But before I do that, we'll show you on the side here, there are a few other options. They must have ran out of spots to put them in the front. This is your picture adjustment, so you can go from a soft picture to a sharp picture. Very nice, because some tapes that aren't recorded too well, you got to turn this all the way to sharp just to see anything. If you have it on the soft mode, everything just looks like a blur. And then, of course, here you have your left, right, and your right audio select switch. Alright, turning around to the back of this VCR, you can see we have quite a few options. We have the channel 3 or 4 input selector. Pay TV. Now, I'm not exactly sure what this is. It may be some type of descrambler. If any of you guys who are more fluent with the older VCRs could tell me what that is, that would be much appreciated. We have an auxiliary input. I believe that's for either a camcorder input, and I think you could also buy corded remotes that would work with that as well. But because I have the other one, of course, it'd be kind of useless for me. Your normal VHF input for the antenna, and then output to your TV. You have the older style UHF alligator clip leads, which are used for TVs usually pre-1980. Up until about 75, it was very common to see these kind of leads. Over here you have the camera remote jack. And then last but not least, your various audio and video inputs. Your right and left audio in, your video in, your right and left audio out, and then your video out. Interestingly enough, on more modern VCRs, these are actually placed a lot better. Usually they'll be in a horizontal form, and you'll have video, with the left and right channels in the same position. It just seems a little bit more confusing here, especially when you see one interesting thing here is instead of the left and right channel, the left being white and the right being red, they're both red here. So definitely not as good a job with the color coding, and actually the video in here almost looks white and not yellow. So just something interesting to note, probably because it's an older VCR and there wasn't a standard set back when this was made. And as you can see, the label here does state that it is a General Electric, and the date of manufacture is 1984. If the camera will get that in focus, it's actually 6/13/1984. So we are talking about a VCR that is almost 31 years old. Really incredible that it still works. Alright, now that I have it plugged in again, you can see, of course, the clock lost its time. It's blinking 12 as they always did back then. But we'll go ahead and turn it on. As you can see, the display has the channel indicator here to the right with automatic fine-tuning set to on. That's mainly for if you have an antenna, but it works with cable as well. Right now it's just trying to find some channels, but of course it's not going to because there are no analog broadcasts in our area, except for channel 23. And we'll see if it actually finds that. Up here is the tape counter. Again, here's the clock. And then here are your information for your tasks. Like it'll say stop, play, rewind, fast forward, pause, whatever you're doing will show up there. What I want to show you guys real quick is this little LED display or LCD display here. Now, if you wanted to program a TV show back then, what you'd actually have to do is, of course, tune it to the channel that you want. You would bring it over to the program, which it's on right now, and then you would actually use these buttons here to make your choices. Now, again, I didn't really try this before, so I'm not really sure if it works or not. Should be seeing something here. Let's see. Yeah, I guess that feature doesn't work on here anymore. But again, the way it would normally work is you would set it to program, and then you would use the arrow keys to go left from right and choose your start, stop, and channel date. But I'm not channel and the date, of course. But I'm not all that surprised it doesn't work. I mean, something this old, you know, there's obviously gonna be something on here that won't work. Well, what I decided to do is give you guys a video test of this beautiful vintage Alright, VCR. As you can see, the TV is on. This is just the TV I had sitting in storage. Nothing special, just an old Magnavox, but it is stereo. That's important. Go ahead and try this tape. Of course, you have to hit play. This doesn't automatically start playing.
Is one of us, the miracle and the mystery. May God open up our hearts and be a wonderful blessing to the hours tonight.
And I apologize for the scan lines on here, of course, because it's a CRT TV. There's not really much I can do about that. But as you can see, fast forward works just fine. Though again, I do have to hold it in.
The miracle and the mystery. May God open up our hearts and be a wonderful blessing to the hours tonight as we behold this wonderful music.
And rewind as well.
So this great Christmas musical tonight is one about the miracle and the mystery. May God open up our hearts and be a wonderful blessing.
I think what's really cool about this is there aren't any strange sounds. Usually with a VCR this old, something's dried up to the point where even if it functions, it'll give some type of a grinding or a squeaking noise. But as you can see, everything appears to be functional, perfectly functional with this. So that was just a quick overview of my new General Electric 1984 normal stereo VCR. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to go ahead and clean the heads up on this a little bit. I don't really think they need it too much, but it's always a good idea when you get a new piece of audio or video equipment to make sure it's been properly maintained, which I can absolutely tell this has been. Please remember to like and subscribe, and as always, have a blessed day, everybody.